Hello, welcome, Rodney.
Hey, Matt. It's good to see you.
So, Rodney is a CEO of a 7-year-old company, OHUB, that stands for Opportunity Hub, which is doing some great work bringing diversity, equity, inclusion, bringing attention to this cause. And Rodney and I met last year in York, Pennsylvania, when he had just launched Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion as a Service, or DICE, which is basically a way for companies to learn how to do this better. So, Rodney, tell us how it's going.
I'm doing well, Matt. Considering everything that's going on in the world and in our country today, but I'm excited to be here today, and definitely excited about the conversation that you and I will be having. How about yourself? How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. And I too have been hit by the conversation, the gravity of it, the importance of it. And as I hope you've been following along over the last couple of days, we've had some really good conversations around the need for more diversity, more processes and policies around not only the data in the AI projects, but the people around the table that are actually doing it. And we have a report back later this afternoon on the great conversation this morning from with five African American professionals. That was just a riveting conversation. But can you tell us what it means for you? What this confluence of events has meant for you, and the results for your what you're calling the DICE project?
Absolutely. So just to sort of set the stage here, we are existing in this trifecta of challenges in our country. There's this pandemic, of course, it's global, also in America. There's this renewed national conversation and hopefully sustained quest to create racial justice throughout the fabric of our nation, which definitely includes edge tech and AI and machine learning and all of the edge tech fields of research and study and practice and entrepreneurship. And that's important because the third part of that trifecta is that both of these seem to have accelerated us into the future of work of the fourth industrial revolution. And so, last year, we began to have this conversation when I was a keynote at VentureBeat's Transform AI, where we introduced the DAIS framework. And so quickly, just to reiterate that to those who might have been there last year or this is the first time here, when you look at the framework of DAIS, diversity, equity, and inclusion as a service, beyond the performative statements, and we've heard a lot of people saying Black Lives Matter, and Black business owners matter, and Black AI matters, and so it seems like to be a new hashtag around Black X Matter every day, and people are saying, well, how do we actually manifest that inside of an organization, inside of a company, inside of a fund or a startup? And so the framework is, when you look at building equity inside of an organization, it's around the corporate governance, who the board is, the ownership, what are the policies, procedures based upon data. Then there's the HR, who are we hiring, recruiting. Then there's the procurement, what businesses are we doing business with. The actual product development, when you think about the work of the Algorithmic Justice League, Black and AI, and others who are focused on bringing ethics to the AI community, specifically around the product and development to ensure that no one is harmed. Then once you have the product, you go to market. And so there's strategies there. And of course, there's impact and social responsibility. And then there's investment. So what we're doing is ensuring that that framework and those services and strategies and solutions, folks have to know about them first. and then they have to go through a process on implementing. So I'm hopeful that during this particular season in time that it's just not a performative moment, but it is actually a moment that we can create some systemic change. And if AI is definitely about solutions, I believe we should be utilizing AI and edge tech to be a part of the solution and not a perpetuator of the problem.
Yeah, Rodney, we should always have a slide for this, right? Where you have diversity, equity, inclusion as a service. Actually, not that slide. That's coming, but the slide that articulates what's under DICE, right? Where you have this construct and essentially an umbrella platform where OHUB is doing certain things like focusing on the hiring part of that, right? The HR part of that. There's corporate governance and things with the board. And as you mentioned, Black and AI is focused on the product development. There's Impact, a few other groups. Can you talk a little bit about how that movement is evolving? Is it a wide movement, focused movement? Give us a sense of how that's working.
Absolutely. It's evolved from a philosophical approach and a conversation. If you look at how diversity, inclusion, equity happens in most companies today, it starts with HR. Let's hire more people, And then there's impact. Let's support this group. Let's donate. So what we've done is really started to build out a value-added network of Black and Indigenous people of color led firms, a lot of them high growth enterprises themselves that essentially can provide the services beyond just the conversation. So if you're looking at the corporate governance and HR, OHUB has been working in that field for 7 years. On the procurement side, you have firms like Connexus, Robinson, and something I'm excited that we're going to be working on, focus on procurement as well. When you talk about product development, the importance of having more developers from all communities involved in the product development. And so when you look at Black and AI and the work that they do, and Algorithmic Justice League or like Lightship Capital, you have these platforms that are specifically focused there. And then on corporate social responsibility, there's Resilia, which is an enterprise software platform founded by Savitri Wilson out of New Orleans. And then, of course, on the investment side, you see more general partners and emerging fund managers that are specifically focused on investing in AI enterprises founded by members from socially disadvantaged communities. So we have this network of service providers that are joining forces so that we can get scale in terms of working with the decision makers, in the C-suite across and at the board level to create systemic change in the organization and also a particular industry as well.
Great, thanks, Rodney. And you and I have been talking about ways, OHUB and VentureBeat could partner on this very specific area of transformative technology. You're fairly broad in your mandate, and I think where we can help is on that transformative technology community, right, around AI. And so, as part of that solution, VentureBeat, myself and VentureBeat is excited to join OHUB in an announcement of a new initiative to help ensure diversity, equity, and inclusion in the practice of AI. Rodney, do you want to kick it off in terms of what we were talking about? Is this announcement?
Absolutely. I'm excited about joining forces with VentureBeat, and has 4 initial components to it, which include co-producing a DAIS conference with VentureBeat. You produce some amazing experiences from your gaming conference to the Transform AI to Blueprint. OHUB does the same with its Black and Hired New Jobs Forum, Racial Equity Ecosystem Conference. And so we're joining forces to produce the conference. We're also excited to build out a dedicated content channel on VentureBeat.com to highlight these enterprise companies or the research and just the voices of socially disadvantaged Black communities as well. There's also going to be a marketplace where we will connect these enterprise companies from the Black community with the procurement officers and the CTOs and decision makers there, and also the opportunity for us to have talent connect from our community with the AI community as well. And we're kicking it off today, and I'll toss it back to you with our first step.
Yeah, Rodney. Yeah, and this came together as we were talking because it's very close to our agenda to create a marketplace for enterprise executives to learn more information about the practice of AI. Obviously, and this conversation around diversity has become so core. It's integral, as I think everyone should understand now after at least the first couple of days at this conference. And so, what Rodney was referring to is the fourth cornerstone of the initiative is what's something called the Racial Equity AI Pledge. And so I'd like to call upon our community, VentureBeat's community, the attendees, the people watching this, to join me in bringing their companies to make a pledge on the Racial Equity AI Pledge. Could you bring that slide up, folks? And Rodney, I just walked through that pledge myself and signed off. You want to talk a little bit about what it's intended to do and maybe some of the people you've actually already had involved?
Absolutely. So we introduced the pledge on Juneteenth, which of course is the new national holiday in America. And so we should leverage that moment in time every year, not just to have a conversation, but to output out on what's actually being done. And so given the field of AI in practice, it starts with data, right? So Brad Feld, the founder of Foundry Group Fund and Techstars, has joined forces with us. We have different congressional leaders on both sides of the aisle that have supported the pledge as well. The Brookings Institution, the Federal Reserve Bank, there are new organizations that are signing on every day. And the idea is that anyone can take the pledge. Our objective is, if you are a decision maker, if you are a fiduciary at a company, at an organization, at a university, you can walk through the pledge and make some beginning commitments, and also amongst your team start to put some funding behind the different areas around hiring, around spend and procurement, but also around training for your team, and also investment as well. And so we're really excited about it and invite everyone. And then we're going to do what we do best with data, is we're going to make sure that we output it and that we leverage it so that we can move racial equity throughout society.
Great, Rodney. Thank you for joining us. This is a great cause. We wish you the best of luck. We'll be following that, of course, and we'll be syncing around that event you were referring to. So more from us later. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I do want to remind our viewers that please come back at 4:15, where we're going to have the report back from Crystal Moghan, who was the moderator of the diversity inclusion session roundtable this morning, where we had at least 100 folks gather together at the tail end of that and have a networking session and conversation around that important topic, diversity and inclusion in AI. Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you, Matt.